Today I want to walk you through the basic strokes, and these are so important. They look like funny little shapes, but once you start combining them, they make all the lowercase letters. So I spend so much time practicing these strokes, and if you really want to get better at lettering, this is where you should spend your time practicing. So I'm just going to walk through them with you, and all I have is my workbook. This is page 1. I have some tracing paper, and I have my pen, and you could use your pen or your pencil, whatever you'd like. So the very first stroke is called an upstroke, and the reason why is because you're moving your pen in an upward direction. So you're starting at the baseline, you're curving up to the waistline. And it's just kind of this slight curve, moving your pen up in a slow motion. That's the upstroke. The next one is called a downstroke. This one starts at the waistline and moves down to the baseline. And it's just following the angle guidelines. You can see there's an angle guideline right there. And it's just a straight line. And it's called a downstroke because you're moving your pen in a downward direction. The direction that we're moving our pen may not be as important when we're using this monoline pen, but if you guys ever start using a brush pen or a pointed pen, then you're going to want to stick with these directional instructions. The next one is an overturn. This one starts at the baseline, curves up to the waistline, and curves back down to the baseline. So it's like an upside down U shape. And you just want to make sure that it's still following the angle line. So both lines on the side of the overturn should be following that angle. The next one is an underturn. This one starts at the waistline, curves down to the baseline, and back up to the waistline. This one is like a U shape. And again, you want the lines on the side to be following the angle line, to kind of line up with that. And you can even start drawing it on the angle lines if that helps. The next one is a commandant. This one starts at the waistline, curves down about halfway between the waistline and the baseline, and then comes right back up. So it's just a little mini U shape. This stroke is used to connect letters together. Then if you flip to the back, there's just 4 more. This one is called a compound curve. This one is a combination of the overturn and the underturn. So it starts at the baseline, curves up to the waistline, curves back down to the baseline, and then curves back up again. So it's kind of this little squiggly shape. And the key here is that we want to have equal amounts of negative space on both sides of the compound curve. So for example, what we don't want is something like this, where you can clearly see there's less space here, but more space here. We don't want that. We want it to be equal on both sides. And again, the lines on this are following the angle line as well. The next one is an O form. This one you start at the 2 o'clock position and then you work your way around and then connect. So this is an oval shape, not a circle shape. We're starting at 2 o'clock and then connecting it together. And the reason why we start at 2 o'clock is we don't want a lot of people, when they do their O's, they get this type of thing happening where it kind of crosses, and we don't want that. We want a nice smooth curve on the top. The next one is the ascending loop. Start at the waistline, curve up into a loop to the ascender line, and then curve back down. So these basic strokes, what I do before I start lettering anything, I always do some practice of these. And it's something, I don't do it quick, I do it slow. I just work through them. And the reason why we practice these so much is because it builds muscle memory. Your hand is going to memorize these shapes, And if your hand memorizes these shapes, your hand can draw any of the letters. So it's pretty cool. I love the basic strokes, and so I think it's going to help you so much to practice them. The last one is the descending loop. This starts at the waistline, comes down to the descending line, and then loops back up to the baseline. So it's kind of like a J shape, and it's just the exact opposite of the ascending loop. And we just want to make sure that this line right here is following the angle line. So I even start on the angle line and use that as a guide to get that angle correct. So those are all the basic strokes. So please let me know if you have questions on these, and anytime before you start lettering, start with these. Practice a bit of these before you move into letters or doing anything else, and it's going to help you progress in your lettering faster than anything else will.